But we're here to focus on something new, that an initiative that is present in some other dioceses, but something that your familiarity, and we think about the challenge of caregiving and people who different walks of life with vulnerable persons in their own families or beyond. I'm very much holding in my heart with great gratitude to God, but also kind of poignancy, the story of Jim Kleinschmidt, a brother of Carol Zimmerman in Holy Trinity Parish, Deacon Dan, where you're serving. Jim was hit by a car on a bike near the Iowa State campus some 37 years ago and was bedridden and basically nonverbal. But his parents, for a number of years, 20-some years, and then the people at the Madrid home, but the sisters surrounding him in love in this way. And so, I think, the resources of faith, we think about Paul saying, I'm poured out like a libation, and that Ezekiel 47 reading of the water flowing from the temple that brings healing and life. But that people can be drained, and the challenging vocation that God places before some people to be caregivers. So this Nourish initiative, and Patty, maybe you first, just how did you become aware of it, and why did you think this would be a good fit for Des Moines?
Well, when I first was hired, it was right before the pandemic began, and then I was doing research for resources to build disability ministry in our diocese. And when the pandemic hit, there was some videos that came on about caregivers who were really struggling during the pandemic because they were getting no support and no break. They were isolated caring for that loved one, and how difficult that was and hard for them. And so I came upon that we needed to do something for caregivers. And so after doing some research, I came upon the Nourish for Caregivers opportunity, which was based on two ladies that founded it. One was caring for her aging parents and one for her son who had a brain tumor. And so two different perspectives, but they worked together and helped each other during that time. And then they just kind of built this for their own parish. And now they're making it available to all parishes and healthcare organizations and whoever's supportive of people that are caregivers.
Okay, so along the whole continuum of life, different demands that might be there, but a certain commonality and solidarity that emerged. And these were two Catholic women, I believe, in Illinois. Is that right?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, all right. So this is, I don't know if it's got a copyright on it or not, Nourish for Caregivers, but I think that's something that we see. And Deacon Dan, you've been drawn in, your collaboration with Patty and all that we're about. And so what are some of the kind of things that you think will really touch people, and why is this maybe an extension of your diaconal ministry, having been ordained to the permanent diaconate in July?
Certainly. We meet, all of us meet every day and see people that have been affected with some type of suffering. These people many people have to have a caregiver for all of the things that they encounter throughout the day. And we tend to focus on the people that actually need care. Obviously, they're up front, and that's who we care about. That's who we care about in our hearts. But quite often, the person or persons who are taking care of those people are respected and admired, but what do we do for them? We do many things for people that are suffering, but the people that are caregivers are also suffering, but in a different way. And there are many support systems in our diocese, or in Iowa, actually. The hospitals have support for caregivers. Hospice has support for caregivers. There's many of those avenues out there for them, but there weren't really any faith-based support systems. They would work toward their physical and mental health, but they really weren't focused on their spiritual health. And we all know that our mental and physical comes from our spiritual. And the two ladies that began this program wanted to make it faith-based, and that's what we're trying to do here in Des Moines.
Okay, so like NAMI would be an organization, network for people, persons with mental illness and their families and supporters. Maybe for some who bring that, as an individual, bring that faith dimension. But this is a very intentional piece of this, where the faith is foundational and is the lens through which everything and all the engagement happens. Is that right?
And we want, yes, absolutely. We want to provide a place and an atmosphere where the caregivers can come together with the Nourish program focus of a particular topic for that evening, but it's going to be based on them helping us, them helping each other, where we can gather in a group, we can give them information, have them give us information, and have them give each other information about how they're able to cope with the day-to-day experience of taking care of someone that is suffering.
I mean, the statistics are striking, where it's said that over 65 million Americans are caring for a loved one while searching for support. They're right among us in our communities and other places as well, and that the kind of vulnerability for caregivers to emotional fatigue, depression, and even spiritual depletion. So, it's not a self-help kind of endeavor. It's bringing what the church has to offer, but an initiative that maybe brings a certain intentionality. What are some other facets of the program that might open up over time, or is it kind of that each footprint is unique? I mean, we think about the Archdiocese of Portland or L.A. or different places. How will it have a unique or distinct Des Moines flavor, if you will?
Absolutely. As I mentioned before, there is a loosely set program for each evening, but we can also get a feel of the group that's there and the group that may be there next month or the next month. And if there's a certain topic or if there's a certain aspect that they want to concentrate on, that's when we can go out into the Des Moines community and pull in individual resources, not just from the hospitals or the hospices or things like that, but we could do that too. We could have a certain person from one of those facilities come in and give an evening topic of what they do and what they can do for the caregivers, but also look around our diocese and our different parishes. We have many different people in our parishes that are, I'll use the word experts, but they're very familiar with the particular avenue that a person can be helped, and they're very familiar with how to get that person help, and we can have those evenings set up to where we can actually have a guest come in for that particular evening.
Okay. Patty, this isn't a gotcha question, but your own experience as a family with someone with a disability that you've loved and accompanied along the way. Were there things that you found people well-intended but maybe weren't helpful on the way, and that actually kind of empty the tank more than refilling it? Did that ever happen in your experience?
Yes, I've been a caregiver for my son, Jeremy. He's 29 now, and so he has cerebral palsy, and so we supported him throughout his life and continue to do that. And there are times when people say things or do things that are not as welcoming and hurt you. I can't think of anything specific for myself off the top of my head, but I have heard stories of one lady that I met when we first went to a support group when Jeremy was younger, and she said, there's some days I just don't feel like going out in public with my daughter because you get those awkward looks that people make about wondering what's going on. And she goes, some days you can deal with that and some days you can't. And so I always remember that. And for me, that reminds me that when you meet people that maybe have a physical disability or something, that you need to greet them like you greet everybody else. And so that's just one of the takeaways that I learned. But I had the benefit of other moms that had young children with disabilities, and they were a part of a support group informally, but it was always nice to have some formal connections that we'd go to on occasion where we'd have speakers to help with resources. And we didn't have the spiritual part of that. I sought that out for my own parish, but having those combined is a great way to do that and help people accompany them during that time of caregiving whether it's for a short period or for some people it's for a lifetime. So siblings of people with disabilities, they can be caregivers for their entire lifetime. So it's important to support them.
And that could be part of the spiritual work, why when there's multiple siblings, why am I the one who's now tasked with looking after my parent who's aging, or someone else, sometimes that. So those whole raw emotions that people can have, that that embrace of this calling and things, but that's a process, right? And the Spirit has to allow our hearts to be transformed. I think what you're saying in terms of that there. The evening is going to be on Wednesday, October 26th at 6:30 p.m. at Holy Trinity. We don't want to hold people in suspense till the last minutes of the show here. We'll mention that again that time, just to remind them when it is, and hopefully they can put that on their calendars, even though we're only a few days ahead of that. But some logistical concerns too, right? I mean, for caregivers, sometimes it's hard for them to break away, right? And so this is where the larger community is needed.
Exactly. The evening on the 26th, and I've already had conversations with a number of people that want to come. This is our first evening is the meet and greet evening. We do have a program set up for that evening, but it's going to be more open to talk to individual people, to have everyone just get to know each other and get an idea of what the Nourish program is. But in the future, we're hoping, because addressing exactly what you said, where we have some people that cannot get away from home. What we hope to do is use our group to be able to build a network of people that can maybe relieve someone for one night, to be able to come to a Nourish meeting or Nourish evening, and not necessarily become the people that control that evening with this person go here and this person go there, but just make people aware that there are options out there for someone to help back them up and support them.
Okay, and so as you say, this is an inaugural event, Wednesday the 26th at 6:30 at Holy Trinity. But if people aren't able to pull that off and make it, I mean, it's not like that then the train's left the station and there's no way to be part of this. Is that right?
Exactly. That's why each time we meet, it's not a group where you would have to have been to the last one to come to the next one. It isn't an ongoing build-up of this bottom of the pyramid, then the next level of the pyramid, and the next level of the pyramid. Each time you come, each month, we start off with prayer, and then we actually have welcome and introductions again. So if you did miss 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, you don't feel like you've missed something when you do come back.
Beautiful. So those human connections continue to deepen and be expanded in a way, I think, forming a community unto itself. Very marvelous. Are there books or videos people are going to be expecting? I mean, is there going to be homework for people? Or, that can be a mixed blessing sometimes, right?
Homework, well, no, we won't use that word. No, there's not going to be.
We can edit this here. It's being pre-recorded.
It's not going to be, okay, here's your workbook, and you need to do this part of your workbook before you come back next time. Not at all. It's each evening is in itself contained, and during that evening is when we will discuss any issues that we might want to have in the next month. So absolutely not.
Okay, all right.